How's it going? Life sucks. Nah, crazy. I know. What you start a video with that? Life sucks. You know, at 52, going on 53, a few years back, this was my first book. It's all about that very thing. And today I want to read part of that from the very beginning, from chapter 1. This starts on page 10. So stick with me for just a moment as I kind of just open this up just a little bit. Because I want you to think about this. And it starts here. It's a question. So what do I have to offer you? I'll go into more detail in a moment. But so you know, when I was 44, my first wife of 21 years died of cancer, stage 4 colon cancer, and I was her primary caregiver for the 20 months that we fought the disease. When she died, I was left with 2 teenage kids to raise by myself as an only parent at the most difficult time of their lives and mine. Is that all? No. Stay tuned, and I'll share some more. So you're over 50 and you want to get healthy. Well, guess what? Life sucks. You didn't get here and where you're at without having some obstacles along the way. And if you haven't had obstacles, at some point in time, you're going to get hit with them. There's no way about it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And as I sit here at this point in my life, I'm amazed at how things have gone and where I'm at. This redneck living in Alaska, married again to an amazing woman. I've been blessed. I get to write 2 novels with my life, literally one lifetime, and I get a chance to do another one. And that's a whole new story. It's a whole new novel. People say you get to write a new chapter. No, I get to write a whole novel. I mean, my first wife, Heather, and I, we had an incredible life together. And Lauren and I now start another incredible life together. And with that comes incredible journeys. And so in this video today, I'm kind of unpacking that a little bit. It really is a huge part of my journey. Just a couple years ago, right as COVID was kind of hitting things, I did an addition to that book. It's actually in a second edition now. And part of that's the issues of health and the things that I've learned along that way. That as a pastor, the spirituality has been a huge part of that. But unique to my journey is being from the Wesleyan Methodist tradition of my faith is John Wesley was very much, there wasn't particularly the medical books out there. And so he did a lot of stuff, learned a lot of things, experimented with things, some weird stuff sometimes too that I wouldn't endorse. But the reality was that he talked to people about his own journey and shared with people of health things that he had learned because he was incredibly educated, and so he shared that. So part of that for me has been recently to get my own training as a nutrition coach, so that I go through this for myself, things that I've already learned from past experience and doctors that I've worked with to now the things that I've learned about health, but also the spirituality and my body, because we are going to hit obstacles. And the more that I study, the more that I learn, the more that I grow, the obstacles keep coming. So what do I have to share with you today? Well, part of that is the reflection from the book and thinking about where things are in my life right now. And I think the one thing that I would say, if you're facing those difficult times at over 40 and you're getting hit with things, you have to move. That's actually a chapter in here. that was an addition that I put in the book. It's actually chapter 12, Walk It Out. That was one of the additional things because that was a piece that I realized that I left out from the book. That my health and working on that was an important part of my journey of seeking God. And that really is it. That our Creator, and regardless of what you believe, we're formed to be healthy. Our body will naturally heal. It's designed to do that. Doesn't mean it happens overnight. It's not like a magic thing. But if we eat the right things, we do the right things, we think the right things, our body heals. It's intended to do that. And I don't think that is particular because when we get old that it stops. It's that we stop paying attention to it and we stop focusing on that. Listening to a podcast today was incredibly motivating. It was a little bit intense at points where he talked about, when we think about people driving, when people are driving, do they ever stop driving? Well, if they do, then they're going to go off the road. But as we drive a car, a truck, whatever, we have to constantly, we've got to correct a little bit every time. That's the way it is with our mind. We've got to constantly be attentive to what we put in our body. We need to be attentive to what we do when it comes to silence and listening to God. So when we think about this journey, when I think about this journey, because that's really what I'm sharing about is what I think. But I'd love to know what you think. And especially when I share the next piece, because for me, there's a quote that I believe it was Socrates that said that the unexamined life is not worth living. Let me say that again. The unexamined life is not worth living. And for me, it's important because I keep growing. My mom was a public librarian. So being in education, learning was something that's always been ingrained in me. My dad was a professor. So, that's a key part, is constantly learning. So when I've gone through this life journey, as I look back at the things that have helped me, there's one thing that's been so very important to me, and that's to keep moving. We've got to stay active. We need to keep our minds active. We need to keep our souls active. We need to keep our bodies active. We got to keep moving, and we've got to reflect. So as we make decisions and we move forward in a different direction, we then need to reflect, is that the best thing? And I'll throw an example out there. So when my wife was struggling, was facing cancer, if you know my history, and if you look for me online, Jedi Pastor Ken, that was my thing, Star Wars. I still love Star Wars to this day. I have a costume. I am all the way to the point of getting approved for the Rebel Legion to do that. I still may do that at some point in time in the future. I was moving that direction to say, hey, I want to get more involved in the Star Wars fan club. And as things happen, I moved and things changed. And I found that wasn't where I needed to be. And so my reflections weren't really deep or anything on that, because it was just kind of a hobby kind of thing. But I realized that wasn't where my life was going. And so those kind of things kind of put to the back. And I began to look other directions, turn back into writing and working on that, focusing in on being a pastor. And now reflections led me into doing real estate. But more than anything, for me, as I reflect on my life, a number of years ago, a friend of mine, Christy Greenwald, did a spiritual gift inventory, kind of a personality inventory, looking at scripture as to what our gifts are. And one of those gifts that I have is encouragement. I love to encourage people. I love to do that. And part of this video and what I'm doing, my wife Lauren and I now doing Alaska Healthy Together, encouraging people on that faith journey. And this channel is about body, mind, and soul. That I want to encourage people because of what's happened in my life, how I've adjusted things and changed things, and I reflect on that. That's something I've been missing, is in part that as a ministry in many ways, and especially for those of us that are over 40, over 50, maybe over 60, any in that age range as we're looking at our lives, we don't have to stop. I love being a part of RMG Keller Williams team here, because I call them the kids. If they watch this, they may get mad at me. But for me, I'm like the youngest person I'm the oldest person on this young team of so many incredible young people. They have so much energy. They've got so much drive. And I love to be able to surround myself with that. That is such an encouragement. And so that idea of who we surround ourselves with, who is it that we're flocking with, is such an important part of our journey. That's part of that move and reflect and then move again. We've got to constantly look at things, and that idea of an unexamined life is not worth living. We can grow stagnant. It would be so easy, and you may be sitting out there listening to me talk about this. Look, other places I talk about it. Yeah, I'm a cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes, with hypertension. In this process, I've been diagnosed with clinical depression. I've had to go to therapy. I've had to be on medication for those things. Beyond that, I was diagnosed with ischemic optic neuropathy in both of my eyes, which is a vascular condition. It's cost me part of my vision. I could let all of that just stop me. And part of depression, part of the anxiety did stop me. And then I started moving. I started moving again. I mean, part of that was physical, but part of that was making changes. It's hard. There is nothing about getting old that's easy. Let me just point that out there. Some of y'all probably watching this are older than me, but you know it. You know it. So you can tell me and everybody else, what have you found if you're over 52, 53? What wisdom do you have to share about how difficult it can be? But there's nothing easy about it. Life sucks. It's going to hit you. It's going to punch you. It's going to trip you up. It's going to do everything that it can to do that. But it is so worth living. Life is so worth living. Seek God. That really is it. For me, that's still my passion. Number one above everything else is I want to stay in love with Jesus. I mean, that's my heart to your heart. How you understand God, that's certainly for you. But what is it that is your passion? What are you doing? How are you moving forward? How are you moving and reflecting? Move, reflect, move. That's the pattern that I have found to be most helpful. That's why I journal. That's why I do these videos, because there's so much more to this life. And even when it punches you, even at 53, I still get hit. It is crazy. You think it gets easier and it doesn't. I wish it did. But it's so worth living. Because what's around the corner, I don't know. But I know what I've experienced in the past. And I have hope for what's there in the future. And I encourage you to keep moving forward. Reflect and move. Reflect and move. Reflect and move. Don't stop. Take time to reflect. Examine what you've learned. But don't stop. Don't stop. I hope that you are finding the channel helpful. If you do, make sure to share this with friends. Share this with others. Make sure you like, subscribe, and whack that bell icon. How we say, like we do salmon every summer here in Alaska. But yeah, stay with me. Help me be better. What do you want to hear about? What can I help you with? Where can I encourage you on the journey? Where can you encourage me? Hey, healthy at 50, man, that's a challenge. Don't stop.